Welcome to training. Now you're probably doing push-ups wrong, and I want you to apply this one principle, and it will not only fix your push-ups, help you become stronger, but go way beyond that to things like handstand push-ups, human flags, flares, flips, and so on. Now, if you know this channel and you know the type of training that I do a lot of bodyweight strength and skill, which includes everything that I just said: handstands, muscle ups, V-stands, flares, tumbling, and all the rest. And trained over 5,000 students at this point so far to attain those levels of strength and skill. All ages too, kids, teenagers, all the way up to people in their 60s, 70s, even 80-year-olds and beyond. And if you apply this one principle I'm going to show you today, then you're going to fix a lot of the pieces of your training, and you're going to be able to apply this to many different areas, and it's going to be very advantageous for you. So first thing, let's talk about the push-up. So a lot of people will hop down and do their strength training, and they're trying to build muscle. You might be trying to build strength. You might be trying to build mobility, flexibility, or all these other pieces. And when people get into their training, they're missing this one crucial piece, okay? One crucial piece. Here's an example, all right? Here's an example. So they get down on the ground, they put their hands down, they put their feet out, then they start cranking out push-ups. Now let me ask you, what is missing in that situation, in that scenario? What is missing? There's one critical piece, okay? And again, if you apply this, then you're gonna fix everything. You really will. Here's the thing, okay? And this thing is actually missing from a lot of different areas of life too. And I think that we all find ourselves in this situation. But this thing is thinking a particular way about your training, okay? It's thinking logically. Let me share this, all right? A lot of folks will not think logically about their training the same way that they won't think logically perhaps about nutrition, or when people don't apply this to relationships, there's problems. People end up thinking irrationally, I should say illogically, okay? Irrationally. It could become emotional. People have an illogical relationship with their training. And so they do this or they do that expecting certain results, but those results are not going to come because it's just not the logical conclusion of what they're doing to train, okay? And the same goes for nutrition. If you're not thinking logically about your nutrition, then what do you think is going to happen? If you have an illogical relationship, if you have an emotional relationship with food, for example, how do you think that that's going to turn out? If you have an illogical, there's a plane going by, if you have an illogical or irrational or emotionally driven or emotionally charged relationship with another person, how do you think the relationship is going to turn out? And the same goes for your physical training, okay? Does that make sense? Okay, so let's start getting into some of the details then. So first, let's think logically about the push-up. Pushing up is resistance training. It's a form of weight lifting, but your body is the weight. It can create hypertrophy, or it can create maximal strength gains. It can create all kinds of different things. It can also create tightness if done too repetitively. And then you won't be able to bridge, and then you won't be able to get your handstand, and then you won't be able to do back handsprings or anything else because you'll be so tight in the upper body. And those moves are not just tricks and to show off. They're actually just evidence of good, solid, real training over the long term with consistency. So let's look at how this plays out in your physical training, okay? The push-up. All right, people will hop down and they'll put their hands down flat, okay? Is that good? What do you think? How about we make a wide base, all right? Fingers stretched all the way out. We were given thumbs for a reason, okay? And this is going to apply to everything that you do as you scale up, all right? So let's go to the push-up. Hands are wide, okay? Now we have to determine how wide of a grip do we want to have? What's the purpose? What's the outcome? Do we want to be narrow, just a normal grip? Okay, do we want to be a wide grip? Do we want to be a narrow grip? Each of those things has a logical outcome because you're doing things for particular muscle areas with particular sets and reps, etc. And I don't mean this to be sounding overcomplicated. It's actually quite simple. Everything that you hear on all of the other videos out there in the world, all of the mainstream fitness and all these other methods and everything else, pushing supplements, pushing all of these exercises that really are just on the remedial level, all of that is overcomplicated, okay? It's overcomplicating something that is very simple if you think about it logically, okay? So first thing, a wide base, not a narrow base, a wide base, okay? If we have a grip like this, cool. It's going to work certain muscles. If we go out wider, it's going to go into the chest and it's going to put more strain on the shoulders. If you lock the arms at that angle, it's going to put tension into the biceps, okay? A couple examples here. So here versus here versus here or even here. All right? So a couple of different angles just to start off with. Now, let's look at the side view of that, okay? And just logically, all right? So, what happens logically if we put our hands right underneath our shoulders? Is it going to be easier or more difficult? Just think about it. You can even try and feel, okay? What's going to happen if we turn the hands out sideways like this, or even backwards like this? All right, all these positions, okay? What if we go this way, fingers forward, and we lean the shoulders out past around the tops of the feet? What kind of push-up is that going to be? What if we sag the back versus hollow the back versus pike like this and touch the top of the head? I'm not going to touch my head to the sand right now. So, thinking logically, okay, you don't have to know anatomy. It helps, but you don't have to know anatomy. You can determine what areas are going to grow and be targeted based upon the angles of your body if you think logically about it. So, that's the first thing, is kind of just looking at the basic shapes, okay? The basic shapes for what you're doing. What are you trying to build? And then reverse engineering backwards, all right? Second thing is even cooler. And it'll take you to levels that you didn't even realize were possible. And before we get into that, you know, I always say this, that it's just a logical thing to do, to have training, good training with a good instructor and a good team. And if you want to progress and make more progress than really, you know, you ever thought possible, and you want to work with our team, we've got doctorates, we've got elite coaches, we've got people that do this stuff day in and day out. I've been doing it for over 32 years, and we have over 5,000 students at this point doing all of the skills that you see on the other videos, handstands and flips, and maybe you don't want to flip, that's fine. And like I say, it's just the logical outcome of good training, because your core is strong enough, your legs are strong enough, you have the power to land, the agility and all the rest. But even handstand, human flag, some muscle ups, being able to pull your body up over the bar and push. So anyway, if you would like to train with us, I say that it's the logical thing to do. And so there's an application that you can fill out to see if you qualify. And we work with a lot of professionals and people that are in high performance careers and high performance athletics and sort of all the ranges too, from beginner all the way up. And so if you'd like to do that, you can go ahead and apply for training and schedule a time to talk to me and my team. Pretty cool. But the second piece of this, okay, thinking logically about your training and going to heights that you didn't think were possible, okay? So let's start looking at how all of this works together, okay? And it's a very simple analogy. I've used this before. And it's a toy that's based on logic, okay? And what does logic mean anyways? It's the if-then scenario. If this, then that. And if that premise is true, then you're going to get truth as you go down that stream of thought or action, okay? And so there's a simple toy that I use as an analogy, because it either works together or it doesn't. And then depending on how you build with it, then it can become something incredible. So Legos. So I want you to start applying this idea of logic and this thought process of Legos to your training, that you can literally build anything that you want to build with your training. Okay, so for example, I already showed you one step, okay? And I don't know if you missed it, but one push-up that we use, okay, wide hands, wide fingers, all right? Fingers are forward. And then we're up on the toes like this, and then we touch the head to the ground. Again, I'm not gonna touch my head to the sand, but like that, okay? Flexibility in the hamstrings. Hips are high. Why would we put hips high, all right? Why would we try to stack our shoulders? Whoops, I did it. Why would we try to stack our shoulders over top of our hands? Well, this is building tricep strength, deltoid strength in the shoulders, hamstring flexibility, lower back mobility, and eventually that position is going to lead up to something really cool. So you think about it like basic Legos, okay? Fingers wide, first block of the Legos, okay? Shoulders over top of the hands, okay? Hips over top of the shoulders, all right? See the Legos building. And eventually, that strength is going to turn into a bent arm, all right? A bent arm, not a straight arm, but a bent arm, press to handstand. Okay, Legos, thinking logically. And then the next part of this is even cooler, because not only are we dealing with just simplifying everything that everyone has made so overcomplicated, but just simplifying it, all right? And then step by step, piece by piece. So simplification of the shapes, and then the connection of those shapes together to start stacking up into skill and strength. And then what we want to do is we want to add the continuation of that, which is, this is kind of where, I mean, fitness really doesn't talk about these things, but that's kind of where it stops. Like calisthenics or bodyweight strength is always stopping at just a handstand push-up or a front lever or a back lever or skin the cat, or I want mobility of this. And like I say, strength and flexibility without movement mastery is vanity. And so this has to eventually become something. It has to become part of the way that you move. This is being done without any warm-up. Press to handstand, no warm-up, okay? Sometimes I'll do a little bit of stretching and get going and things like that. But for the most part, most of the things can be done without a warm-up, because it's the way that the body is designed to move. And so maybe you're building into that situation, and that's fantastic. And keep going. I encourage you to keep going. Okay? So let's now look at something that's a little bit more complicated, all right? But it is a basic for just movement, okay? This is actually how this, I'm going to show you two versions of this. One of these can be just used to get up off of the ground, okay? Like I say, some of these aren't even basics. It's just the way that the body's designed to move. And especially if you've been training and you've got good instruction and you're in a community when you're developing and everything is just moving in that positive direction, and it's just going to be the way that you move. It's just going to be natural to you, okay? All right, so the move is a spindle, okay? We use this for an entry into a lot of cool moves. But I'm not going to go step by step, but I just want you to see how I want you to watch for something, okay? The shoulders will be over the hands and the hips will be higher than the shoulders, all right? This is gonna rotate in a couple of different ways. It's not a cartwheel, it's a twisting cartwheel, and it looks like this, all right? And just to show you, just sitting on the ground, okay? This is how you can get up off of the ground too. I do this all the time, just getting up, all right? And so once again, if I'm coming over the top, my shoulders over my hands, my hips are over my shoulders. All right, a little spindle, okay? A little spindle for your training will go a long way. And so as you can see, we're simplifying so that we can get to the point of complex movement. I won't say complicated, okay? What we're trying to do is take what is overcomplicated and simplify it. And the more simple that we can get, and the more logical that you can think about your training and not have an illogical way of looking at it, not have an emotional way of looking at it. Sometimes people are almost like they are about religion, about their fitness, and they've got to do it this way and this way and this way. And you know, I mean, I'm not talking about that topic, all right now, but the point is just the dig the heels into the ground and don't want to move and don't want to try anything new with their training, and then it's going to get them stuck. You know, you dig your heels in the sand so much, you're going to get stuck eventually. All right, and so thinking logically, not having an emotional relationship with your training, just the same way that you shouldn't have an illogical or emotional relationship with food or nutrition. You shouldn't have an irrational relationship with other people, okay? Have a logical relationship with your training, and you simplify. Look at the shapes. What are those shapes actually doing? Then you start layering those shapes just like you would with little Legos and just building, and you're sculpting this awesome human form that's your physical body. And then you start adding speed and movement to that, and you're creating that mastery, which is why I always call it total body mastery. And you're getting strength, skill, and sustainability. And you see how simple it is if you keep it logical. Awesome. I'll see you in the next video and in training soon.